Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the results of Trim Poetry Competition 2020. I'm Orla Fay, editor of Boyne magazine and co-judge of this competition. Firstly, I'd like to thank my fellow judge, Michael Barry, and Boyne Writers Group Secretary, Frances Brown, for all her work in the administration of the competition. We had about 350 entries from all over the world, so I think we can agree that to come in the top 10 shortlist is quite a feat. Of course, when Michael and I get the poems, they're completely anonymous, so it's always lovely afterwards to find out who has written the works, and often we're quite surprised. I'm going to go through the shortlist now in alphabetical order and just pick out something I liked about each individual poem. The first poem was written by Matt Honer in the US, and this poem was titled Bearing the Weight of Light, and it was written about journalist Lyra McKee, who was killed during a riot in Derry on Good Friday 2019. This is a really compassionate poem, and the poet says, I am with you in Craig and Lyra, watching fresh fire burst across checkered cop cars rolling up the street. The second poem is called Bird's Eye View by Catherine Conlon from County Kildare. And what I really like about this poem is halfway through the four verses, there's a lovely transition using the word familiar. The next poem is called In the Dark Room by John D. Kelly from County Fermanagh. And this poem imagines memory developed as photograph using lovely language and imagery. The next poem is called Light Rail by David Butler from County Wicklow. There's a lovely line in this that says, sound of rattling iams, the track, the train, the pulse of a city waking. Little Snowdrops by Martin Sykes from County Mayo imagines a little kitten, but it is deeper issue of addiction. We heard the pitter-patter, and then we saw paw print. Miss Paw Ring, Man, circa 1902, by Maria Iskova Bennett from Liverpool, deals with memory. My father's last words, threadbare, keepsake, buried at sea. Nature Lesson by Marion Brannigan from County Louth. There's some lovely imagery as well. Helicopters hover as black embryos hatch into tadpoles, dangle from duckweed. Postcard from Simmy by Patrick Lodge from the UK. Very touching poem. I had a house, a lady says, answering a question no one has asked. Talking in Pictures by Karen O'Connor from County Kerry draws you right in immediately. He draws a body without legs, square torso and oval head. And lastly, Tree Felling at Lissadell by Maeve McKenna from County Sligo. Again, another great poem. A tree can have many uses, I've learned. Winter, carved, with blossoms. Quite a mysterious poem. You're not quite sure what's going on. So, those are the 10 shortlisted poems. Of course, in the end, we could only have one winner, and we were delighted to award first prize to Patrick Lodge, the postcard from Simmy. We also had two runners-up, Bearing the Weight of Light by Matt Honer and Tree Felling at Lissadell by Maeve McKenna. So I hope you're enjoying the festival and that you enjoy these recordings by the poets of their poems. Take care.
Hello everybody in Trim and those tuning in to the virtual festival from wherever you are. A big hello from me, Patrick Lodge, from sunny Yorkshire, locked down in the garden. It's unfortunate that we can't all be meeting up in the beautiful Boyne Valley, but there we are. The wonders of modern technology give us an option. do it this way. And I'm going to read my poem, Postcard from Simi. Simi is about an hour on the ferry north of Rhodes in the Dodecanese, and I was there last year. It's a small island, a small population, gets much more crowded during the summer months, but this year it was packed with refugees from Turkey in the main. It's very close to the Turkish coast, and hundreds, if not thousands, of refugees were coming over when the Turkish government policy changed towards them. And the residents of Simi were doing their best to look after these refugees, but unfortunately it was proving very, very difficult. So this is Postcard from Simi. On an arid island where every building appeared to float on a cellar of water, and the sound of summer was the lazy rhythm of cisterna pumps kicking in, anything is possible. Such as the two ranks of people, jittery as the waves that brought them finally to this sun-baked quay, or will whisk them away for a day. Skittish, as if about to start a susta simiaki to the music leaking out of a taverna. Or wait for a leader to sort the next sinuous steps. A bright-eyed policewoman strides forward, the figure of a snake priestess in a high vis. She opens her arms, seems to grasp the two lines, keeps them apart until one, impatient, shuffles under the Schengen portal. Day bags packed, passports waving, a valedictory curse to the god of delight deferred. Ahead, the turquoise coast, Marmaris, silver rings, leather goods, fake labels, fake everything. The world's an unreal cornucopia. Those in the other line may feel that too. Held in the grip of the port police, between then and now, they accept water, toothpaste, nappies with shy smiles. I had a house, a lady says, answering a question nobody has asked. She says it again, and rolls a blanket on the quayside. A punctured inflatable expires on the rocks below, rocking in the wash of departing tour boats. The tide is still coming in. Well, thank you very much again for the opportunity to read this at the marvellous Virtual Poetry Festival in Trim. Good luck to you all. Good luck to all my friends of the poet variety and others in Ireland. I hope it's not too long before I'm back there.
Tree Felling at Lissadell by Maeve McKenna. A tree can have many uses, I've learned. Winter carves its losses, layer after layer, fluttering heaven-bound on an abrupt gust. The air is keening again. I press mute on my phone. I take the familiar woodland path. To the right, oyster crates settle on a receding tide. The lower Rosses a murmur, shrouded in a veil of fog. The thinning sun surrenders behind the weight of clouds. A twig snaps underfoot. The tree hide looks out over Goose Field. Barnacles flock here for the black months. A lone wintering finch opens its wings across the cereal patch. I wait. Inside, the benches are scrawled with names. Tom declares his love for Amy. Another attempts to shape a heart in Tippex. On the window ledge, gouged into the wood skin, CP was here, 21/04/2011. At dusk, skeins glide in from Inishmurray, their V ascending skyward like a curtain of white mist. 3,000 souls roaming the skies. They depart in April too. The latch snaps shut. A photograph, crumpled and fading, is buried pocket deep. The boy on a makeshift swing, fists tight around the length of a rope. I play the voice message.
I'm Matt Honer. I'll be sharing a poem with you via the 2020 Trim Poetry Festival online. This was selected as joint runner-up by judges Orla Fay and Michael Ferry, and I give them much thanks. Bearing the Weight of Light, for journalist Lyra McKee, killed during a riot in Derry, Good Friday, 2019. I am with you in Cregan, Lyra, watching fresh fire burst across checkered cop cars, rolling up the street and out of the past to meet the left behind, the angry, the lingering griefs. As we sing hymns for the holy dead, Lyra, how high do our hosannas rise toward heaven before they split to reach the ears of separate gods? What shared trauma dresses us in black? Is it here, in the road between walls and houses? How long has difference lounged in our parlors and barracks over the decades, counting the ways we can unravel into them and us, snapping live rounds of retribution into magazines one by one, praying a rosary of old hurts, bead by terrible bead. What honesties live beyond us like ghosts, haunting us like phantom limbs aching at the ends of severed bones. Tomorrow, the odor of petrol bombs, the crunch of smashed bottles underfoot, a chalk outline where peace lay bleeding. I am with you, Lyra, prone on the cold curb, my breath in yours, fingers pressing your wounds for answers. I am with you, warm, bright light between two darknesses. Hold fast. I will carry you.
Bird's eye view. Weekends had you waiting at the top of the hill, standing bird-sized in the distance, while we strained against the windscreen for the familiar blue or brown pullover, the hand lifted in greeting. A conversation already started in the smile reaching out to us. Any news in Dublin, you'd say, and we'd laugh at the old joke, knowing the familiar is the only news worth having. When the word came sudden and unfamiliar, and we stood in the shock of that July morning, another image of you reached out, that last afternoon in Dublin, your car driving away, and at the end of the road, you turning to look back, as though you knew, as though you had a bird's eye view of it all.
In the darkroom. We left exhaust smoke in the cold driveway of your mother's house, of hoists and ripple beds and sleepless nights and death. And we headed back together to where wild blueberries grow alongside purple heather, to where silver sand and the white top waves at Keem once washed over already wet and salty skin. We were always naked, back in that simpler time, when life was only ever black or white. Like the image that now comes slowly into view and saves me from gushing spates of coloured memory as it reveals that monochrome tumbling scene again. It develops like an eternity of déjà vus. O wild Atlantic foam, passion, then serenity. I want to hold you here, in the stopping, the gentle lapping before the fixing, in these red-washed waves.
Hi, I'm David Butler, and I'm going to read my poem Light Rail, which was shortlisted for this year's Trim Poetry Contest. Light Rail. Pre-dawn. Bray stations screech and shunt. Morning is a wet nose and snuffle. 4 paws flopping to the floor for the first excursion. Outside, the street is a neon stage set. The first slow train unspooling its show reel across a bridge in a series of stills. The sitters, sleep-stunned and solitary as anything from Hopper, to a soundtrack of rattling iambs. The track, the train. The track, the train. The pulse of a city waking.
Little snowdrops. We heard the pitter-patter and then we saw paw prints settling there across the floor. Stray kitten with the 4 white socks, little snowdrops. My family always knew when I had let the kitten in, they'd see the little snowdrops across the floor. Paw prints, they'd mutter, gives it away. The kitten's long gone now, but my family still hears pitter-patters, still sees paw prints settling there like coffin nails, numbing little snowdrops. Red-nosed, I tell them I sniffle from the cold, but my family still knows. They point at the paw prints, cry out, gives it away. White socks, little snowdrops, takes me all away.
Hello, I'm Marion. I hope you enjoy my poem. It's called Nature Lesson. Late February, I dumped my bucket along the edge of the slow-moving stream to collect fall spawn for the classroom. At the army checkpoint, outside the school in Crossmaglen, a British soldier inspects the bucket. Mutters, drive on. I pour the jelly mass into a glass tank. Helicopters hover as black embryos hatch into tadpoles, dangle from duckweed like upside-down tightrope walkers. Our tadpoles sprout legs, swim to the surface, bobbing for air. Swimming in unison, tadpoles school, circling around the tank, shoal and feed on leaves and fish flakes. May morning, a brown, freckled froglet climbs on a floating water lily leaf. Bulging eyes detect prey and predators. A foot patrol peers in the window.
Talking in Pictures by Karen O'Connor. He draws a body without legs, square torso, an oval head. A squiggle represents the pituitary gland. 2 triangles, sitting on top of 2 large upright ovals, represent the adrenal glands and the right and left kidney. Then he draws arrows, like an elaborate map to a maze of internal organs and external cause and effect. A fog begins to roll slowly across the heather of my small intestine, over a quite distinctive copse of trees, silver birch, growing on the wall of my stomach, and between the trees, the shadow of a man walking away from me. His shoulders broad, his hands pushed deep in his jacket pockets, as the cold sweeps across the leaves, leans into the bark, sighs out of the opening of rocks at the far end. I call out to him, this man, call him back to me, but he keeps walking, moving his shoulders up to his ears, his stride elongating. I feel myself running to catch up, the ground obscured by the rolling fog, making me stumble and trip. I cry out as my knees hit the moss-covered rocks, the pain pulsing up my thighs, my hands skinned raw at the heel. I get to my feet slowly, feel the tears burn the back of my eyes, the sob trapped at the back of my tongue. I force myself to look on. I've lost sight of him now. The trees have closed around him. The fog has stood up and is itself running after him. I begin to move again, reaching out a hand to touch each tree for reference, for record of my passage, the odd half-moon blood smear marking my progress, dragging my right leg in protest to a small hillock where I catch sight of him in the distance, and I know him now, walking away from me. I know his final destination, see it stepping out of the fog, and I no longer want to follow. I want to go back to that crude drawing, to the paper, to the scrape of the pen. As if sensing the distance between us, he slows, turning towards me for the first time, and I see that I am mistaken. He is not a man, but a moon bear, and his nose is wrinkled, catching the scent of fresh blood, and his long mouth curls up at the corners, and his dark eyes find mine, moving with fluid strides between the trees, closer and closer and closer.
Many thanks to all of those who organised the poetry competition for Trim Festival. My poem Mitzvah Ring was shortlisted. Mitzvah Ring was first drafted in a workshop linked to archaeology on Holy Island in Northumberland last year. The workshop led me to think about archaeology of the South. And as a focus, I used my grandfather's mitzvah ring, actually given to me by my father's sister, but in the poem, the memory of my father's death and that of his sister, a year apart, melded into one. The rush to sell our past, despite my reluctance and sadness, also came into the poem, causing me to become aware of the different focus for my siblings after my father died. I suppose in some ways they were looking forward, but I hadn't finished digging into the past. Mitzvah Ring, Mans, circa 1902, for Joseph and Samuel Isaacson. My father's last words, threadbare, keepsake, buried at sea, make small sense as he abandons his father's ring. But the words are what I carry for months as I clear his house while it's up for sale, while I dig for clues. Floorboards, fireplaces, the backs of furniture, and behind the boiler, nothing. Time and again I have to stop, return home to my babies while my sisters circle, hands out for their share. We haven't got time for history. We're heading for Vegas, shrugs the youngest. I need time for history, coffee with cardamom, worsted, tailoring shears, workshops in Lviv and Liverpool, Grandad's unmarked grave.